The massive space station Nexus Prime floated like a glittering jewel against the black void of space. Ships from 12 different worlds docked at its many ports, each vessel showing the unique design of its creators. Some looked like living creatures with flowing curves and organic shapes. Others appeared as perfect geometric crystals that caught and reflected starlight. A few resembled massive insects with multiple wings and strange appendages. Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck watching these alien ships with wonder. Even after 50 years since first contact, seeing so many different species together still amazed him. As Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, he had attended many meetings, but this one felt different. This was the Centennial Speed Trials, an event that happened only once every 100 years. The station itself was a marvel of engineering. Built by the combined efforts of all council members, it stretched for miles in every direction. Transparent. Tubes connected different sections, allowing beings to move between areas while enjoying views of space. Gardens from various worlds created pockets of color and life throughout the structure. The air itself was carefully controlled to support dozens of different breathing requirements. Jake adjusted his simple black suit and checked his tablet. The formal ceremony would begin soon. He felt nervous, which was unusual for him.
After
decades of diplomatic work, he normally felt confident in these situations. But today was special. Today, the fastest civilizations in the galaxy would show off their incredible technology. Dr. Lisa Carter walked up beside him, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She carried several data pads and looked as nervous as Jake felt. As Earth's lead expert on alien technology, she understood better than most how far behind humanity was in the space travel game. "The Zephyrian ship arrived an hour ago," she said quietly. "Our sensors barely registered its approach. It moves so smoothly through space that it barely disturbs the cosmic background radiation." Jake nodded. The Zephyrians had dominated galactic transportation for over 3,000 years. Their biomechanical ships were grown rather than built, creating vessels that seemed alive. They could bend space around themselves, allowing travel at incredible speeds while using very little energy. "How fast do you think their newest ship can go?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her notes. "Based on our analysis of their previous models, we estimate somewhere between 40 and 50 times the speed of light. But that's just a guess. They keep their best technology very secret." A gentle chime echoed through the station, followed by an announcement in the universal trade language. All representatives were requested to gather in the main assembly hall. Jake and Lisa joined the flow of beings moving through the corridors. Assembly hall was enormous, with seating arranged in a circle around a central platform. Each species had their own section designed for their specific needs. The aquatic Myrthini sat in tanks of blue-green water. The silicon-based crystallites rested on beds of crushed minerals. The insect-like hivetar hung from the ceiling in. Web-like structures, humans had been given a small section near the back. Jake took his seat and looked around at the other representatives. Most ignored him completely, which was normal. Humanity was still considered the newest and most primitive. Member of the council? Their technology was laughably simple compared to the others. The center platform lit up as Council Speaker Vextalon emerged from the floor. The Andorian collective representative was 12 feet tall and made entirely of living crystal that shifted between blue and purple colors. When it spoke, its voice resonated like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Welcome, children of the stars, to our centennial gathering," Vextalon said. "What 100 cycles we have celebrated the greatest achievement of sapient life, the conquest of distance itself." The hall fell silent, except for the various breathing, clicking, and humming sounds of different species. Even those sounds seemed muted by the importance of the moment. "The Zephyrian hegemony has held the record for fastest space travel since our records began," the speaker continued. "Today they will demonstrate their latest achievement." A section of the floor opened, and a Zephyrian representative floated upward. Quilthera looked like a giant jellyfish made of silver and gold. Metal. Hundreds of thin tendrils moved constantly around its body, creating patterns that somehow conveyed emotions. Right now, those patterns showed pride and confidence. "Honored Council," Quilthera said in a voice like singing water, "our newest vessel the cosmic dream, has achieved what we believed impossible. It can travel at 47 times the speed of light while maintaining perfect stability and comfort for its passengers. Gasps and clicks of amazement filled the hall. Even for advanced civilizations, this was an incredible achievement. The previous record had been 39 times light speed, set by the same species 200 years ago. Quilthera's tendrils formed what Jake had learned was their equivalent of a smile. This vessel represents 3 millennia of biomechanical evolution. It grows its own navigation systems and repairs itself during flight. The hull lives and breathes, adapting to the stresses of high-speed travel. Several representatives asked technical questions. The Hivetar wanted to know about power requirements. The Myrthani asked about navigation systems. The Crystallites inquired about structural integrity at such speeds. Quilthera answered each question with obvious pride, though Jake noticed. The answers were very general. No one was giving away real secrets. Finally, Vextalon raised one crystalline arm for silence. The demonstration has been recorded and verified by our measurement systems. The Zephyrian achievement is indeed remarkable. The crystal being paused and its color shifted to a deeper blue. However, this centennial gathering offers a special opportunity. Any member civilization that can exceed this record will earn a permanent seat on the Inner Council, along with access to our most protected technologies and knowledge. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. The Inner Council was the real power in galactic civilization. Only 5 species held those positions, making decisions that affected trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. The knowledge they guarded included technologies that could solve many of Earth's problems. The challenge period will last 1 standard galactic year, Vextalon announced. Any species wishing to participate must register their intent before leaving this gathering. Jake looked at Lisa, who was staring at him with wide eyes. They both knew this was an incredible opportunity, but also an enormous risk. If Earth tried and failed, it would confirm their status as the primitive newcomers everyone already thought they were. Around the hall, representatives whispered among themselves. Jake could pick out enough words in various languages to understand that most species thought the challenge was pointless. The Zephyrians had dominated space travel for too long. Their biomechanical technology was too advanced for anyone else to match. Quilthera's tendrils were now forming patterns that Jake recognized as amusement. The jellyfish-like being clearly expected no one to accept the challenge. Why would they? The gap between Zephyrian technology and everyone else's was enormous. Jake stood up. The movement caught attention throughout the hall, and hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other detection organs focused on him. He felt very small and very human in that moment. Earth accepts the challenge, he said in a clear, strong voice. The silence that followed was complete. Even the background humming and clicking stopped. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Lisa grabbed his arm, her fingers tight with worry. Then the laughter started. It began with a few species and spread throughout the hall. The Hivetar made chittering sounds. The Gosmari created musical tones that conveyed humor. Even some of the more polite species allowed themselves small sounds of amusement. Quilthera's tendrils were now moving in patterns Jake had never seen before. When the Zephyrian spoke, its voice carried clear amusement. "We look forward to your attempt, little mammals," it said. "Perhaps you will surprise us all." The condescension in those words made Jake's jaw clench, but he kept his expression neutral. As the laughter died down, Vextalon formally recorded Earth's participation in the challenge. Jake sat down, very aware that he had just committed humanity to either its greatest triumph or its most embarrassing failure. Lisa leaned close to him. "I hope you know what you're doing," she whispered. "So do I," Jake replied, watching Quilthera's amused patterns. "So do I." The emergency meeting room at United Earth Space Command buzzed with nervous energy. 20 of Earth's brightest minds sat around a curved table, all staring at the holographic display showing the Zephyrian ship specifications. The alien vessels, graceful curves and biomechanical design, made it look more like art than technology. Admiral Frank Rodriguez cleared his throat to get everyone's attention. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady brown eyes that had seen humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. Now those same eyes carried the weight of humanity's biggest challenge ever. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have 11 months to build the fastest ship in galactic history," he said simply. "The question is not whether this is impossible. The question is how we make it possible." Dr. Amy Watson sat near the front of the room, her red hair catching the light from the displays. As Earth's leading physicist, she had spent years studying alien technology samples. She knew better than anyone how far behind humanity was in most areas of science. "Admiral, we need to face facts," she said quietly. "The Zephyrians have had 3,000 years to perfect their technology. Their ships are grown, not built. They use living metal that repairs itself and adapts to conditions. We don't even understand how their basic systems work." Commander Steve Brooks leaned forward in his chair. The chief engineer was a practical man who liked solving problems with his hands. His weathered face showed the confidence of someone who had built impossible things before. "Maybe that's our advantage," he said. "Everyone expects us to try copying alien technology. What if we don't? What if we do something completely different?" Dr. Paul Martinez adjusted his glasses and pulled up another hologram. The quantum theorist was younger than the others, but his work on space-time mathematics had already earned respect throughout the scientific community. "Steve might be onto something," Paul said. "All the alien species approach faster than light, travel the same way. They try to move through space faster. But what if we don't move through space at all?" Amy turned to look at him. "Do you mean?" Paul's fingers danced over his tablet, changing the holographic display. Now it showed a simplified diagram of space-time, with grids and curves representing the fabric of reality itself. "Every species we've studied uses some form of space folding or dimension shifting," he explained. "They're still fundamentally moving from point A to point B, but what if we could make the distance between those points smaller?" The room fell quiet as everyone considered this idea. Admiral Rodriguez scratched his chin, a habit from his younger days as a pilot. "You're talking about compressing space itself," he said slowly. "Exactly. Instead of making our ship go faster, we make the universe temporarily smaller around us, create localized space-time compression fields." Dr. Watson shook her head. "Paul, the energy requirements would be enormous. We'd need exotic matter, dimension stabilizers, all sorts of technology we don't have." "Would we?" Paul asked. He changed the display again, this time showing brain scan images. "What if the key isn't technology at all? What if it's biology?" Images showed human neural patterns, with bright areas indicating electrical activity. Paul highlighted certain regions that pulsed with complex rhythms. "Human consciousness operates on quantum levels," he continued. "Our brains process information using quantum mechanics in ways we're only beginning to understand. What if we could use that as our interface?" Commander Brooks was nodding slowly. "You mean like a pilot becoming part of the ship?" "More than that. I mean the pilot's mind actually controlling space-time directly." The idea was so radical that everyone sat in stunned silence. Using human consciousness to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality seemed like science fiction, not science fact. Admiral Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of New Geneva sparkled in the Swiss valleys. Beyond that, the stars waited with their impossible distances. "How would we even test something like this?" he asked. "We start small," Paul said. "We build a prototype system and see if human neural patterns can interface with quantum field generators." 3 weeks later, in a secure laboratory beneath the lunar shipyards, Tony Sullivan was working late again. Mechanic was a simple man who preferred fixing things to talking about them. Had volunteered for this project because he believed in doing the impossible. Tony was calibrating a quantum field generator when something strange happened. The device was supposed to create small distortions in space-time, barely measurable even with the most sensitive instruments. But as Tony worked, focusing intently on the calibration, the readings spiked dramatically. "What the hell?" he muttered, checking the connections. Everything looked normal, but the field strength was 10 times higher than it should be. He stepped back from the device, and the readings dropped to normal. When he moved closer and focused on the work again, they spiked. Up once more, Tony called Dr. Martinez, who arrived within minutes, along with Dr. Watson and several other researchers. They ran test after test, trying to understand what was happening. "Tony, I need you to concentrate on the device again," Paul said. Watching the readouts carefully, the mechanic shrugged and focused his attention on the quantum generator. Immediately, the space-time distortion field strengthened dramatically. "My God," Amy whispered. "He's amplifying the quantum effects with his consciousness." They tested 12 other people that night. Engineers, scientists, pilots, and technicians all tried to interface with the device. Every single human could influence the quantum fields just by concentrating on them. The effect was stronger in some people than others, but it was always present. "This is impossible," Amy said for the 100th time. "Consciousness shouldn't be able to directly affect quantum mechanics at this scale." "But it is," Paul replied, staring at the data. "Somehow, human neural patterns can interface with quantum field generators in ways that amplify their effects." They worked for 3 more months, developing the theory and building larger test devices. The breakthrough came when Commander Lisa Hayes joined the project. The test pilot had flown every type of aircraft Earth had ever built, and she understood, instinctively, how to merge with mechanical systems. It's like learning to fly all over again, she explained after her first successful test. But instead of controlling a machine, you're controlling space itself. Lisa could create compression fields strong enough to bend light around small objects. When she really concentrated, she could make a baseball appear to teleport from one side of the lab to the other. The implications were staggering. If humans could learn to control these effects on a larger scale, they could theoretically compress the space between stars, making interstellar travel almost instantaneous. Admiral Rodriguez approved the construction of a full-scale prototype ship. The design was unlike anything ever built. Instead of trying to look sleek or advanced, it was purely functional. Steel hull plates welded together with human craftsmanship, traditional rocket engines for normal spaceflight, and in the center, a quantum compression core that could only be operated by human consciousness. They called it the USS Velocity, and it looked exactly like what it was, a machine built by humans to do something impossible. Captain Ryan Clark was selected to lead the test crew. A former fighter pilot with steady nerves and quick reflexes, he had shown exceptional ability to interface with the quantum systems. His navigator, Lieutenant Karen Davis, could sense space-time distortions, like a sixth sense. Systems Specialist Sergeant Mike Fuenson could monitor and adjust the compression fields while they were active. The first test flight was scheduled for a simple run around the solar system. As the crew strapped themselves into the basic seats, Amy Watson felt her stomach twist with nervousness. "Remember, we're not trying to break any records today," she told them over the communication system. "Just prove the concept works." Ryan placed his hands on the neural interface controls. They looked like nothing more than metal plates connected to the ship's computer systems, but they contained quantum sensors that could read human brain patterns. "Neural connection established," he reported. "I can feel the compression fields building." The USS Velocity looked crude compared to alien ships, but as it engaged its quantum systems, something beautiful happened. Space itself seemed to bend around the vessel, creating a bubble of compressed reality that made the ship appear to flicker in and out of existence. "Holy shit," Mike whispered, then quickly apologized for the language. "No, Sergeant," Admiral Rodriguez replied from the control room. "I think that's exactly the right response." The test was a complete success. The USS Velocity had traveled from Earth to Jupiter in less than an hour, a journey that normally took months, even with the best conventional drives. Humanity had found their edge. While alien species relied on exotic technology and ancient knowledge, humans had something unique: the ability to think at the speed of light itself. Dr. Amy Watson stared at the security footage on her tablet, her coffee growing cold in her hands. The video showed a figure in dark clothing moving through the restricted areas of the lunar shipyards at 3 in the morning. This was the fourth Breach attempt in 2 weeks. They're getting bolder, Commander Steve Brooks said, looking over her shoulder at the screen. That one almost made it to the quantum lab before security caught him. Amy rubbed her tired eyes. The project was taking a toll on everyone. Between the technical challenges and the constant security threats, none of them were sleeping well. Word had somehow leaked that humanity was working on something special for the speed trials. Any idea which species is behind these attempts? She asked. Steve pulled up another file on his tablet. Intelligence thinks it's the Zephyrins. Infiltrators all had biosignatures that suggested genetic modification, and that's their specialty. They probably think we're trying to steal their biomechanical technology. Amy almost laughed. If only they knew the truth. Humanity wasn't trying to copy alien technology at all. They were doing something completely different, something that might be impossible for other species to duplicate. The intercom crackled to life. Dr. Watson, please report to Test Base 7 immediately. We have a situation. Amy and Steve hurried through the corridors of the lunar facility. The low gravity made running awkward, but they moved as quickly as they could. Test Base 7 was where they conducted the most sensitive experiments with the quantum compression system. They arrived to find Dr. Paul Martinez standing in front of a holographic display that showed readings unlike anything they had seen before. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by obvious excitement and concern. What happened? Amy asked. Paul pointed to the display. Captain Clark was running routine calibration tests with the neural interface. Everything was normal for the first hour. Then this happened. The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of local space around the test facility. Normally, it would display a simple grid showing the natural curvature of space-time. Instead, it showed something impossible. Those micro-wormholes? Steve asked, leaning closer to study the patterns. That's what it looks like, Paul replied. The quantum compression system isn't just bending space. It's actually creating tiny tunnels through space-time itself. Amy felt her heart rate increase. Wormhole technology was theoretical even for the most advanced alien civilizations. The energy requirements were supposed to be enormous, requiring the power output of entire stars. Where's Captain Clark now? She asked. Medical bay. It's fine. Physically, but he reported some unusual experiences during the test. They found Ryan Clark sitting on an examination table while Dr. Sarah Kim checked his vital signs. The pilot looked normal, but his eyes held a distant quality that Amy had never seen before. How do you feel, Captain? Amy asked. Ryan was quiet. For a moment, as if trying to find the right words. Different. During the test, I could sense things that shouldn't be possible. It was like I could feel the shape of space itself, see the connections between distant points. What kind of connections? Paul asked, pulling out his tablet to record the conversation. It's hard to explain. You know how when you look at a map, you can see that two cities are connected by a road? It was like that, but with space. I could see paths through the universe that don't normally exist. Dr. Kim finished her scans and shook her head. All his readings are normal. Brain activity, nervous system response. Everything looks fine. But Amy noticed something the medical doctor had missed. Ryan's pupils were dilated, and he kept looking at empty spaces in the room as if he could see something there. I want you to look at this display, she said, showing him the hologram of the micro-wormhole patterns. Ryan's eyes focused on the image, and something remarkable happened. The patterns on the display began to shift and change, becoming more complex and organized. You're still connected to the system somehow, Paul whispered. Even without the neural interface, you're affecting quantum fields. Over the next week, they ran careful tests with Ryan and the other crew members. Lieutenant Karen Davis and Sergeant Mike Johnson showed similar effects, though not as strong as Ryan's. All three pilots reported sensing space differently, as if they could perceive dimensions that normal humans couldn't see. The implications were staggering. The neural interface wasn't just allowing humans to control quantum fields, it was actually changing them, giving them abilities that seemed impossible. We need to understand what this means, Amy said during their daily briefing.
Are we creating
enhanced humans? Are there risks we don't know about? Dr. Martinez had been working around the clock to analyze the data. His usual neat appearance was replaced by wrinkled clothes and messy hair. "I think I know what's happening," he said, calling up a new set of diagrams. Human consciousness operates on quantum levels naturally, but the neural interface is amplifying that connection, allowing our minds to directly perceive and manipulate the quantum foam that underlies reality. "The quantum foam?" Steve asked. "It's the theoretical foundation of space-time itself. At the smallest scales, reality is constantly fluctuating, creating and destroying tiny wormholes and space-time distortions. Most beings can't perceive this level of reality, but humans apparently can, especially when enhanced by our technology." Amy studied the data, trying to understand the full scope of what they had discovered. "So we're not just building a fast ship. We're creating technology that could fundamentally change how we understand the universe. And we might be the only species capable of using it," Paul added. "I've analyzed brain scans from 12 different alien species. None of them show the quantum consciousness patterns that humans have." The discovery was both thrilling and terrifying. If humanity was unique in this ability, it would revolutionize their place in galactic civilization. But it also made them a target. The alien infiltration attempts increased dramatically. The crystallites sent surveillance drones that looked like space debris but carried advanced sensors. The insect-like Hivetar tried to plant listening devices in the facility's communication systems. Even the normally peaceful Myrthani were caught trying to access the project's computer networks. Admiral Rodriguez called an emergency meeting with Earth's top military commanders. The holographic conference room filled with worried faces from around the planet. "The situation is getting dangerous," the Admiral said without preamble. "Our intelligence services have intercepted communications suggesting that several alien species are considering direct action to stop our project." General Patricia Young, commander of Earth's Orbital Defense Forces, leaned forward in her chair. "What kind of direct action?" "Military intervention. They're scared of what we're developing, and frankly, I don't blame them. Works as well as the tests suggest it would give humanity a massive advantage in space travel and exploration." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. "Are they planning to attack the shipyard?" "We don't know, but we're taking precautions." Dawned. "USS Velocity will be moved to a secure location for final testing. We're also accelerating the timeline. Instead of taking the full year to prepare, we need to be ready for the trials in 6 months." The pressure was enormous. Not only did they need to perfect technology that was barely understood, they had to do it while avoiding alien interference. And possible military action? Captain Clark and his crew began intensive training with the completed USS Velocity. The ship looked crude compared to alien vessels, but its capabilities were extraordinary. During test flights, it could travel from Earth to the outer planets in minutes, rather than months. But the strangest discovery came during a routine navigation test. Lieutenant Davis was practicing long-range sensing when she detected something. "Impossible." "Captain, I'm picking up quantum signatures from the Kepler racing circuit," she reported. Ryan checked his instruments. The racing circuit where the speed trials would be held was over 200 light-years away. No human technology should be able to detect anything at that distance. "Are you sure?" he asked. Karen closed her eyes and concentrated, her hands resting. "On the neural interface controls, I can see it clearly. The racing course, the monitoring stations, even some of the alien ships that are already gathering for the trials." The implications hit everyone at once. Not only could humans travel faster than any known species they could perceive across interstellar distances while doing it, the USS Velocity wasn't just a ship. It was becoming something entirely new. Fusion of human consciousness and quantum mechanics that might be unique in the universe. As the final preparations began, Amy wondered if they truly understood what they had created. It set out to build the fastest ship in galactic history. Instead, they might have discovered abilities that would change humanity forever. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more than just another primitive species. They were something entirely unprecedented. The Kepler racing circuit stretched across 12 parsecs of space, a course designed by the greatest engineers of 12 civilizations. Ancient asteroid fields provided obstacles that tested navigation skills. Plasma storms created electromagnetic interference that challenged sensor systems. Gravitational anomalies from collapsed stars warped space-time itself, making straight-line travel impossible. Captain Ryan Clark floated in the pilot seat of the USS Velocity, his hands resting on the neural interface controls through the ship's viewports. He could see dozens of alien vessels gathering at the starting line. Each ship represented the pinnacle of its species, its technology and thousands of years of development. The Zephyrian vessel, Flowing Wind, looked like a living creature. Made of silver and gold, its biomechanical hull rippled with muscle-like contractions as it prepared for the race. Crystalline ships from the Andorian Collective reflected starlight in brilliant patterns. The insect-like craft of the Hivetar buzzed with nervous energy, their multiple wings twitching in anticipation. And then there was the USS Velocity. Built from Earth steel and human determination, it looked crude and industrial compared to the elegant alien designs. Several alien crews had openly laughed when they first saw it. The ship appeared to be held together with welds and bolts rather than exotic metamaterials. "All ships, this is race control," came the announcement in the universal trade language. "Final systems check begins now. You have 30 minutes before the start signal." "Out!" Lieutenant Karen Davis ran through her navigation checks from the co-pilot's seat. Her enhanced perception allowed her to sense the quantum distortions throughout, the course mapping paths that normal sensors couldn't detect. "I can see clear routes through most of the obstacles," she reported to Ryan. "But there are some areas where space-time is so twisted that I can't get a clear reading." Sergeant Mike Johnson monitored the quantum compression systems from his position behind them. The neural interface technology was still experimental, and they had no idea how it would perform under the stress of actual competition. "All quantum field generators are operating normally," he said. "Neural connection pathways are stable." "As ready as we'll ever be?" Ryan took a deep breath and opened his mind to the ship's systems. Immediately, he felt the familiar sensation of his consciousness expanding beyond his physical body. The USS Velocity became an extension of himself, and through it, he could perceive the fabric of space-time around them. The experience was still strange after months of training. Instead of seeing space as empty void, he perceived it as a living thing full of currents and patterns. Gravitational fields appeared as rivers of bent reality. The quantum foam that underlied everything sparkled with constant activity. "This is Ambassador Morrison calling from the observation platform," came Jake's voice over the communication system. "The entire Galactic Council is watching this race. No pressure, but the future of humanity's place in galactic civilization might depend on how well you do today." "Thanks for the pep talk, Ambassador," Ryan replied with a slight smile. "We'll try not to embarrass the species." Through the ship's sensors, Ryan could see the massive observation platform where thousands of beings from across the galaxy had gathered to watch the trials. Floating screens displayed close-up views of each competing vessel. The betting odds heavily favored the Zephyrian ship, with humanity listed at nearly impossible chances. "Attention, all competitors," Race Control announced. "You will navigate the full Kepler circuit, passing through all 12 checkpoint stations. The course includes natural hazards and spatial anomalies. Any ship that deviates from the marked route or fails to register at each checkpoint will be disqualified." Ryan studied the course hologram one more time. 12 parsecs of the most challenging space in the known galaxy. Even at maximum faster than light speeds, conventional ships needed several hours to complete the circuit safely. 10 minutes to start signal, Race Control announced. Around them, the alien ships began powering up their exotic drive systems. Zephyrian vessels started glowing with bioluminescent patterns. The crystallite ships resonated with harmonic frequencies that made space itself sing. Energy discharges from various propulsion systems created a light show that would have been beautiful under other circumstances. The USS Velocity simply sat there, looking unchanged. Its quantum systems were already online, but they produced no visible effects until activated by human consciousness. 5 minutes to start signal. Ryan felt his heart rate increase despite his training. Everything humanity had worked toward for the past year came down to the next few hours. If they failed, Earth would remain a minor player in galactic politics. If they succeeded, They would earn respect and access to technologies that could transform human civilization. Neural interface. At full synchronization, Karen reported, "I can sense quantum fluctuations throughout the entire course." "Compression field generators ready for activation," Mike added. "All systems green. 2 minutes to start signal." The alien ships moved into final position at the starting line. Some of them were already beginning to bend space around themselves, creating visual distortions that made them appear to flicker and shift. Ryan closed his eyes and deepened his connection with the ships. Quantum systems. The USS Velocity might look crude, but he could feel its potential humming through the neural interface. This ship could do things that no other vessel in the galaxy could achieve. 30 seconds to start signal. The course markers lit up in sequence, creating a path of light through the asteroid fields and plasma storms ahead. Each checkpoint glowed with sensors that would record the passage of every competing ship. 10 seconds. Ryan placed his hands firmly on the neural interface. Controls. Karen and Mike did the same with their stations. The 3 human minds linked through the ship's quantum systems, creating a unified consciousness that could perceive and manipulate space-time itself. Start signal activated. The race has begun. The alien ships surged forward instantly. Zephyrian vessels stretched itself like liquid metal, flowing through space at incredible speed. Crystallite ships rang like bells as they folded dimensions around themselves. Energy trails from exotic propulsion systems painted streaks of light. Across the void, for a moment, the USS Velocity seemed to hesitate. Ryan felt the quantum compression systems building power, but he needed perfect synchronization with his crew before activating them. Then everything clicked into place. Instead of accelerating through space like the other ships, the USS Velocity simply disappeared. On the observation platform, thousands of alien spectators gasped in confusion. Their sensors showed the human ship had been there one moment and gone the next. With no energy signature or spatial distortion to indicate where it had gone, but the race sensors told a different story. The USS Velocity had appeared at the first checkpoint almost instantly, somehow traveling 3 light-years in the blink of an eye. "Impossible," whispered Quilthera, the Zephyrian representative. "No ship can move that fast." The human ship disappeared from the first checkpoint and materialized at the second, then the third. It wasn't traveling through space in any conventional sense. Instead, it seemed to be stepping between distant points as if the intervening distance didn't exist. Ryan felt the universe collapse around him in ways that defied description. Through the neural interface, he could perceive the quantum tunnels that his ship was creating. Space-time bent and folded at his command, allowing the USS Velocity to step through dimensions that other beings couldn't even see. "Checkpoint 7. Karen announced, her voice strained with concentration. "We're ahead of the entire field." The alien ships were still struggling through the early obstacles of the course, fighting gravitational anomalies and plasma storms with conventional faster-than-light technology. Meanwhile, the USS Velocity continued its impossible journey, appearing and disappearing across vast distances. "This is race control to USS Velocity," came an urgent transmission. "Please confirm your navigation method. Our sensors cannot track your movement between checkpoints." "Navigation confirmed," Ryan replied, though he could barely spare attention for communication. Creating quantum tunnels required his complete focus. "We are following the designated course and registering at all checkpoints." By the time the fastest alien ships reached the halfway point, the USS Velocity had completed the entire circuit. The final sensor readings showed a time that shattered every previous record by an impossible margin. The Zephyrian ship, at maximum capacity, had covered the course in just over 2 hours. The USS Velocity had finished in 11 minutes and 37 seconds. The silence from the observation platform was absolute. Even the constant background chatter of alien languages had stopped as thousands of beings tried to process what they had witnessed. "Race control to all observers," came the official announcement. "The USS Velocity has completed the Kepler racing circuit in 11 minutes, 37 seconds. This represents an effective speed of 847 times the speed of light." The number was so impossible that many beings simply refused to believe it. Protest signals flooded the communication channels as species demanded investigations, recounts, and explanations. But the sensor data was clear and undeniable. Humanity had not just won the race. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in stunned silence, staring at the holographic displays that showed the race results over and over again. The numbers didn't change no matter how many times they were recalculated. USS velocity, 11 minutes, 37 seconds. Effective speed, 847 times the speed of light. Council speaker Vex Thalen, crystalline form had dimmed to a pale blue, a sign of deep confusion among the Andorian collective. The 12-foot-tall being had presided over these trials for 3 centuries, but had never seen anything like this. The measurements have been verified by 17 independent sensor networks, Vex Thalen announced, its voice carrying none of its usual confident resonance. The results are ... unprecedented. Ambassador Jake Morrison stood at the human delegation's platform, trying to keep his expression neutral despite the chaos erupting around him. Alien representatives were shouting in dozens of languages, demanding explanations and investigations. Many were convinced that humanity had somehow cheated. Quilthera, the Zephyrian representative, floated forward with its tendrils forming aggressive patterns. This is impossible. No ship can travel that fast. The humans must have used some form of dimensional manipulation or temporal displacement. The course sensors detected no temporal anomalies, Vex Thalen replied calmly. The USS Velocity followed the designated route and registered at all 12 checkpoints in the proper sequence. A chittering sound filled the chamber as the Hivetar representative spoke. Perhaps they used multiple ships, creating the illusion of one vessel moving at impossible speeds. All ships were tagged with quantum signatures before the race, the council speaker explained. The USS Velocity maintained a consistent quantum signature throughout the entire course. Dr. Amy Watson stepped forward from the human delegation. As the lead scientist on the project, she had prepared for this moment. The aliens deserved an explanation, even if they might not understand it. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. Humanity did not cheat or use illegal technology. We simply approached the problem of faster-than-light travel from a different angle. The chamber fell silent again, as thousands of alien eyes, sensors, and detection organs focused on the human scientist. Amy had never felt so small, but she also knew that this moment would determine humanity's future in galactic civilization. Every species in this council has tried to solve speed through force, she continued. You build ships that move faster, use more energy, bend space around yourselves. But what if the solution isn't moving faster through space, but making space itself smaller? She activated her tablet, and a holographic display appeared above the chamber's center. It showed a simplified diagram of space-time, with grids representing the fabric of reality. The USS Velocity uses localized space-time compression. Instead of traveling from point A to point B, we temporarily compress the distance between those points. The ship doesn't move faster, it simply has less distance to travel. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the chamber. Several species had theoretical knowledge of space-time manipulation, but the energy requirements were supposed to be enormous. The power requirements for such technology would be astronomical. Called out a representative from the Gazmari collective. How do you generate enough energy? Amy smiled slightly. This was the part that would really surprise them. We don't generate the energy externally. We use human consciousness itself as the control mechanism. Human neural patterns can interface directly with quantum field generators, allowing us to manipulate space-time through thought alone. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the constant background sounds of alien breathing and movement stopped completely. Dr. Paul Martinez joined Amy on the platform. We've discovered that human consciousness operates on quantum levels, in ways that appear to be unique in the galaxy. Our minds can perceive and control the quantum foam that underlies reality itself. Impossible, whispered a crystallite representative. Consciousness cannot directly affect quantum mechanics at macroscopic scales. Perhaps not for your species, Paul replied diplomatically. But humans seem to have evolved a form of quantum consciousness that allows this interaction. We're still learning about it ourselves. Captain Ryan Clark and his crew were brought forward to demonstrate. The USS Velocity had been moved to a position visible through the chamber's viewports. Floating among the other ships like a crude metal box surrounded by works of art. Captain Clark, would you activate your ship's quantum systems? Amy asked. Ryan nodded and pulled out a small device connected to the ship's neural interface. Even at this distance, his enhanced consciousness could reach the USS Velocity's quantum field generators as Ryan concentrated. Space around the human ship began to shimmer. The vessel appeared to flicker and shift, as if it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Then, for just a moment, it seemed to disappear entirely before reappearing in exactly the same position. What you just witnessed was a micro-jump, Amy explained to the stunned audience. The ship compressed space around itself and stepped through a quantum tunnel barely larger than its own hull. This is how we achieved such incredible speeds during the race. The implications hit the various species at different times. The Zephyrians realized that their biomechanical technology, perfected over millennia, had been made obsolete by human thought patterns. The Crystallites understood that their mathematical approaches to space travel had been bypassed by consciousness itself. The warrior races recognized that humanity now possessed a strategic advantage that could reshape galactic politics. Vexelin's form brightened as the Andorian collective processed this information. If this technology is real, it represents the most significant advancement in space travel since the development of faster-than-light drives themselves. It's real, Jake Morrison said, stepping forward, and it's only the beginning. Our scientists believe that quantum consciousness manipulation could revolutionize not just transportation, but communication, manufacturing, and our understanding of reality itself. But there was one more revelation that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Lieutenant Karen Davis approached the platform, her expression serious. There's something else the Council should know. During our training in the race itself, we discovered that this technology allows us to perceive across interstellar distances in real time. She closed her eyes and concentrated, accessing the quantum perception abilities that had developed through her work with the neural interface systems. Right now, I can sense quantum signatures from ships throughout this system. I can detect the gravitational patterns of nearby star systems. I can even perceive the quantum fluctuations that indicate the presence of other intelligent species. The chamber erupted in chaos. Relative interstellar perception was something that even the most advanced civilizations had thought impossible. The energy requirements alone should have been prohibitive. This ability appears to be exclusive to humans, Dr. Martinez added once the noise died down. We've tested the neural interface technology with volunteers from other species, but none can achieve the same level of quantum consciousness integration. The full impact of this discovery was staggering. Humanity hadn't just built the fastest ship in galactic history. They had developed abilities that could make them the most powerful species in known space. Council Speaker Vexthalin called for formal recognition of the race results. The vote was unanimous, though some species seemed reluctant to accept the implications. By the authority of the Galactic Council, Vexthalin announced, humanity is granted a permanent seat on the Inner Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. But the crystal being wasn't finished. Furthermore, in recognition of humanity's unique contribution to galactic science and exploration, we create a new position, Keepers of Quantum Consciousness. Humanity will be responsible for studying and safeguarding this remarkable ability. Jake Morrison felt tears forming in his eyes as he accepted the formal documents. 50 years ago, humanity had been alone in the universe. Today, they were recognized. As guardians of one of the most powerful abilities ever discovered, Captain Clark and his crew became legends throughout the galaxy. The USS Velocity was retired to the Galactic Museum, but its legacy lived on in the new generation of human ships that followed. Earth's shipyards began producing vessels that could cross the galaxy in days, rather than years, But perhaps the most important discovery was yet to come. Dr. Martinez made one final breakthrough 6 months after the trials. Earth's unique position in the galaxy, combined with the specific way human consciousness had evolved, created ideal conditions for quantum awareness. Humanity wasn't just fast, they were the universe's first known species. Capable of thinking at the speed of light itself, the galaxy had learned that the newest members of the Galactic Council were far more than primitive. Mammals with crude technology, they were something entirely unprecedented. Beings who could merge their consciousness with the fundamental forces of reality. And this was only the beginning of what humanity could achieve.